Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. Now, as you saw in that beautiful video package, we have our ads. We're not going to try to cover them too much throughout the show, but they'll be popping up as we go. I got a little bit of coming soon, some merch, nothing special, just so I can get my face on a hat and tell all my friends I'm famous. And without further ado, let's bring our guest in today, Jared. Here we go. This is the best part because I always mess it up. How we doing, Jared? How you doing today?
Not too bad. What's up, Cal? How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. As you saw, I just plugged that new hat, so now my ego is through the roof.
Pretty flashy.
As I told you before we started recording, I just want to feel special like my dad who had his merch for his business. So now I can just shove it in his face and be like, see, I'm cool too.
Like father, like son.
What's that?
Like father, like son.
Yes. And you and I go way back, almost 15 plus years. So
it's been a minute.
Oh yeah, it's been a minute since we've seen each other. Last I think we saw each other was Rice Lake.
It was Rice Lake.
Perfect. Barking Spiders' last match, or
yes,
one of their few.
Actually, that was my first Jumping Spiders experience. Actually.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Those guys are so cool. Hope to have one or two of them on eventually. Clutch is definitely a character. He was on America's Got Talent as well as The Gong Show. That would definitely help my ratings for sure. So
super good dudes as well. Super good.
Oh yeah, super humble. Every time I see him, very cordial, very nice. It's usually a fight to try to pay for the merchandise, and I will not argue with Ox because I am a big boy, but he's got the muscle to back him up.
He's got an arm for you and an arm for me.
Yeah, those are big tree trunks. Those are redwood tree trunks for sure.
Yes, they are.
I always tell people to go up and arm wrestle them, but they won't do it. So
it might. The two of us have a chance.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not like I used to be. I was never that good. So, alrighty, before we ramble on too much, let's just jump right into it. Let's get into some of your earliest memories of wrestling.
So for me, there was a video game on the oh man, I'm gonna age myself here. The old school Nintendo.
Okay,
and I can distinctly remember the Macho Man was one of my favorite characters on that game, and somehow that led me down to the path of the local video store, where we would go down and we would rent the Coliseum home video VHS pay-per-views. Always about a month or two too late, and sure enough. It's Hogan, it's Warrior, it's the British Bulldog, the Hearts, and it's mesmerizing. It's larger than life characters. It's oh my goodness, those are real life superheroes. They're not just cartoons, and you're seeing it live, but yet they're hitting each other, right? So it just, you fall in love. You can't not take your eyes off of it, and then from there it's middle school. It's the Monday Night Wars. It's Attitude Era. It's how do you pick a channel to watch? It's DX. It's NWO. It's Austin. It's Sting. It's Eric Bischoff. It's McMahon's. It's just wild, man. It is a crazy journey that this.
Oh,
take you on.
Got a little bit of freeze there. We can edit that out. I've learned how to edit.
Okay. Yeah, no, it started back in a video game. And somehow I found my way into it from there.
So now back to the video games. Now you had the NES. Did you play any of the other ones that you can recall? Because I think the only one I can recall, sorry to interrupt you there, was just the one with Andre where he could throw you out of the ring. And I cannot remember the name to save my life for that one. So
that's my issue. I was trying so hard to reflect on what the name of that. But we moved up to the I believe PlayStation, the original PlayStation, is when I first started seeing wrestling games come back with SmackDown and WCW versus Nitro or NWO. We played a lot of those. Yeah, and then moving up, I've gotten into the latest the 2K series and stuff like that too. Okay. So we've come a long way when it comes to video games.
Yeah, definitely. I know I was more of an Xbox kid, N64, some classic gems in there. My first introduction was Sega. I talk about that in the first episode where the guys give me crap because I talk about WrestleMania, the arcade, being the Mortal Kombat of the wrestling world, and they laughed at me. I mean, that had some cool graphics at the time. You could do throw the salt with Yokozuna, Bam Bam coming off the top rope and just burning right through you. To me, it was cool. I wasn't allowed to play Mortal Kombat, so
don't go back to it though. Save your memories.
Oh, I play it on I have a modded Xbox, not to brag. I do throw it on there once in a while, and I'm horrible at it, just like I was as a kid. But I just get a kick out of watching Doink using the big hands to slap me and the hand buzzer and stuff. So it still holds up for me today, just because I tend to play my old Xbox more than I play the new stuff. Just because I'm stuck in 2000 era,
for sure.
Which Joe and Brian, who always yell at me because I will throw in NFL Fever 2003-4, and I will play 3-4 hours on that thing like it's Madden 20 whatever we're on now. So it's really weird. I'm stuck in the 2000s, but I don't mind it. It's a good time.
I got a brother that's stuck with the NCAA. That series is his sweet spot right now too. So
I used to veg on those things back in the day, and then here's a horrible plug, but you played football, right? Were you playing when Jarrett played?
Absolutely.
Or you're Jared, Jason? Excuse me. During that time, we created our whole football team. So we had everybody in their positions, and of course I thought I was cool, so I got to start even though I was third string. So, and then we have to put Joe as starter even though he thinks he's that great. But those games are definitely going for quite the penny on eBay and stuff. So with the new one coming on
right now, they are. Yes.
Yeah, I've got 5 or 6 of those just for the Xbox. So sitting on a gold mine. But back to wrestling, you said Macho Man was one of the first that you fell in love with. Now, did you prefer him in WWF or WCW?
So I would like to forget the WCW version of Macho Man personally. I just think WWF Macho Man was prime Macho Man.
Okay.
Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man. I mean, let's be honest. If you go back and watch it now as an adult, you better have a tissue. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as a kid, you didn't get it. But WCW Macho Man was, unfortunately for me, it felt like a lot of let's just do what Hogan wants to do, and let's flip and flop. And it just, I guess it really kind of it watered down Macho Man in my opinion. So it's definitely WWF Macho Man for me.
Okay. So taking that, I was assuming you're more of a WWF kid then?
I would say I probably leaned heavier WWF, WWE at the time, but I definitely have a lot of WCW love as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me growing up, it was always WCW, and then I started to stumble into WWF. Kind of when the Attitude Era was taken off, I was more just into NWO. I had the shirts, the Hogan shirts, the action figures. And then slowly started getting into that WWF. I think Goldust, Mankind were some of the first ones I saw going against Taker, and I just thought those 3 characters were just phenomenal. But for me, it was WCW. Were you a huge fan of the Mega Powers with Hogan and Macho?
So we all watched the meme of those 2 shaking hands, right? It's the greatest thing of all time. It was great storytelling. Let me say what you want about Hogan and Macho Man separately, but together, that storyline was amazing. Maybe a prime example of how you can really tell a story over a period of time, and probably even at my age, being just a young guy, going, there's no way that Miss Elizabeth is going to leave Macho Man, right? But then it turns out Macho Man is maybe the bad guy there, and then we all know how it ends with Elizabeth on Macho's shoulder at the end of that match. So,
and that definitely, I always say it, I got to get a slogan that's giving me goosebumps, but just remember Hogan taking her to the back and Macho Man's freaking out in the ring, and then he comes back there and they get into this little scuffle, and you're just like, no, that's not what happened, but obviously, as a kid, you're screaming at the TV trying to explain to Hulk Hogan, and or Macho Man, he can't hear you, and he's just mad at Hulk Hogan. So,
yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It's some of the best storytelling that I think I remember from that age of my life, for real. Honestly, I guess.
Yeah, I will say Macho. They kept the strap on Hogan too much. Granted, he had it, but I mean, there's other people that deserved it just as much during that time.
You're getting no argument from me.
Yeah, the Ted DiBiase's, more with Warrior.
Jake Roberts. I mean,
Jake Roberts. Yep.
How do you not put the big strap on him at that time, right?
Exactly, and that was probably during the peak where they thought that was the golden child and didn't want to go away from it. They slowly started to evolve when he started getting older. I feel, with Brett, Yoko, but then he came right back in and he's just right there again, the cash money cow, which I get. You want to sell tickets, you want to boost your ratings and, keep your hot ticket on there, but you also have to evolve, which, like I said, they eventually did do with other people.
Oh, yeah.
I was a Hogan kid, because that was one of the first action figures I had. Didn't really know who he was. And then slowly started figuring out through video games and action figures that people had. My uncle gave me one that he had bought because Hogan was at his prime then. And then, again, back to NWO, he just came out, and I just thought he was so cool, rocking the airbrush T-shirts, the Hollywood Hogan. It was just a whole nother level for me, so I fell in love with that. So
I can tell you that I think Hollywood Hogan is probably the best version of Hogan. That's my opinion. But,
okay.
I just think WWF Hogan was the same thing over and over and over. Mm-hmm. Where, I mean, you didn't know what you were getting from Hollywood on a nightly basis. And it just opened up Hogan to a whole new audience. I thought it was incredible.
Mm-hmm. The leg drop, the power up, the Hulkamaniacs helping him power up. So.
Oh, yeah.
And then back to that too, where they, did give a lot of people a shot. I always like to remember there wasn't really, I guess there's a select few that were the top brass, but then you had all those gimmicks. You had Nails, you had Duke the Dumpster,
the Goon.
The Goon. It just some of those were just there. I think for the pure entertainment.
Isaac Yankov. Isaac Yankov.
Yeah. I literally just finished his book today, so that was a very interesting read, getting kind of his insight on how he was not really thrilled with that character, but he did it, and then the fake Diesel, and then finally, obviously, everyone's favorite Kane is what cemented his legacy. But yeah, that's funny you bring that up, that I just finished his book. Trying to go back here. Obviously, Macho Man, Miss Elizabeth, tragic ending to her. With Lex Luger, we won't get too much into that. Any other favorites from the golden age of WWF there?
So, having a brother, typically the two of us found ourselves to tag team wrestling. We were pretty fond of it. So for us, that era, it's the Rockers, right? It's Marty Jannetty, it's Shawn Michaels. So that was, for us, it was awesome. And then, myself, that image for me, Shawn Michaels, super kick, Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window. Mm-hmm. I thought the tag teams back then were awesome. You had the Hart Foundation, you had the Rockers, obviously, and then you got the Owen Hart, Coco Beware, which was, a lot of people forget. That was a fun little tag team for a hot minute there.
Yep.
You had them all. The tag teams back in that day, it was incredible. A lot of people think the Attitude Era might have been the golden age of tag team wrestling, but I would argue that, when Hogan was at his prime in WWF, there was some incredible tag team wrestling that was going on then. So for us, it was, even though Hogan was on the pedestal all the time, I found myself definitely big fans of what was going on underneath. So, like Papa Shango, who wasn't terrified of that? You know what I mean? That was scary as hell. Undertaker, when he first came in Survivor Series, that was terrifying. I was convinced there was a dead guy wrestling. So, it just, I know a lot of people are super fond of the Attitude Era, but if you go back to early 90s WWF, it's incredible. It really is. Even though there's a lot of gimmicks, it's incredible the amount of talent and stars that were actually there in front of your face.
And then me and the boys at 13 Card kind of agree that, yeah, the Attitude Era was like that peak in wrestling, but besides the Rocks, the whole, not Hogan, excuse me, the Rock, Austin, Mankind, Triple H, and those guys, that was pretty good. That stuff was good. But then all that other stuff was just, TNA. It was Mark Henry, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. It's Val Venus and almost getting his thing chopped off. Like, it just, a lot of that just did not make sense, and that's where I kind of, like, you don't think the Attitude Era is the cream of the crop, And
I mean, and that's not to take away. I mean, the Attitude Era, to me, there's the Attitude Era, but for me, it's I look at that era as that's the Monday Night Wars. That's what made wrestling so hot back then. I mean, without the Monday Night Wars, I don't know that you have the Attitude Era. I mean, I think the Monday Night Wars gave birth to the Attitude Era. So it's really hard for me to just say Attitude Era was awesome, because I mean, you had Miss Kitty on TV doing her thing. That's not really wrestling. But
yeah,
you watch that TLC match during the Monday Night Wars, and you're just like, we're about to blast off. So it was, to me, you can't talk Attitude Era without talking about, Monday Night Wars. But without the Monday Night Wars, if you don't have that early '90s WWF and Razor and Diesel jumping over and becoming Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, I mean, trace it all back. That's why I think wrestling is so beautiful. Is every era that everybody's so fond of, it all goes back, and you have to acknowledge that as you go forward.
Yeah, I fell off kind of once we got into high school, because I was more into football, just because, I had the jerseys, I had the, video games. So that's where my focus went. But, it still was popular in the mainstream. Like, I wore my shirts once in a while, but I just didn't feel as cool because I was worried about being judged,
What's crazy is in middle school, so I dressed up as Sting for Halloween one year, right? And I had the NWO Wolfpack shirt. And you remember back in middle school, you'd put your clothes right up on the bar if you had swimming class. There's that bar right there. So I hung my NWO shirt. Well, I'll be damned if that thing didn't get stolen while I was in gym class. So.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean, that's how hot wrestling was. Is kids would steal your shirts.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I dealt with a lot of bullying. I mean, some of my anger issues back in the day as my other persona brother. But like, I dealt with a lot of that. So that's why I probably graduated towards more football, because it was more serious. But in 2008, a guy I worked with, who's got some lineage with the old Bob Backlund I mentioned in the previous episode, he was just like, "Hey man, do you like wrestling?" I'm like, "Well, I used to watch it back in the day." He's like, "Well, why don't you come over for WrestleMania?" I was like, "All right, that'll be fun." So then that kind of got me back into it. And then around that time, I was going through a breakup. Not that I need any sob stories, but I remember buying the, now that I mention them, Stone Cold's box set, as well as Eddie Guerrero's box set, because they were on sale at Walmart. And it just brought me back to that time period. And then I just became obsessed with buying the DVDs, trying to get back into that older stuff, trying to find some of that stuff. And then luckily, the network came around, so now I can go back and relive that era after the Attitude Era that I missed, like the Brocks, the Randy Ortons, Cena, Angle, when they started to take off. So,
yeah. So for me, I never really, I don't think that I ever had like a gap where I just fell out of it. You know what I mean? Like, I've always stayed fairly tied in. I might not have. There was a period of time where I maybe didn't watch it as often as I used to. But, I always checked the Wrestle Zones and all that stuff, followed along. Occasionally, I'd pick up a pay-per-view here and there. The birth of TNA, I thought that was a cool concept to have a weekly pay-per-view. That was pretty unique. I kind of enjoyed the upstart of what TNA was. I thought that was kind of fun. Again, I think that TNA kind of watered itself down because it just became WWE light. It was anybody who left WWE, you just knew they were going to show up in TNA. So, yeah. But I was able to follow along, and then as I probably reached my early 30s is when I really fell back in love with watching it again, and I just really was like, man, I missed watching and seeing the performers and the amount of skill and talent and athleticism that went into it. So I had never really fell out, but I definitely had a moment of slow period.
Gotcha. So back to TNA quick. I remember asking a few of the wrestlers as well, some friends back in the day. Now, did you prefer the 6-sided ring, or did you care for more of the traditional 4?
I actually was kind of a fan of the 6-sided ring. I enjoyed the it offered a different view of wrestling. It offered a different something different. It was just not. It was something you hadn't seen before. I mean, you have UFC that has the octagon, and you had TNA with their ring, and I just thought, that's an interesting take on wrestling. It offers different. It sounds silly, right? But different angles, guys coming off the ropes from different angles. I thought that was kind of unique. And then what they did with the X Division with that ring, I thought was incredible.
Now, I don't know much about TNA. I just bought some DVDs a while back from a buddy, and I've got like a pretty solid collection of now TNA DVDs, and I'm excited to go back and watch those. One thing we do here is I inflate the 25-foot screen. I think I've showed you pictures of that or mentioned that we do that. Maybe not.
Sure.
And we're going to start doing that once summer cleaning's done here is where I work, and then start doing those like monthly or weekly just to get the gang together and watch some old classics. I use that word very loosely, TNA. But, I mean, they had the Samoa Joe. They had AJ Styles. They had an early day Punk. They had some of the legends. And Jeff Jarrett, a lot of people hate on him. I loved him when I got to meet him. Selfless plug. I love to brag. Just cordial. Super, super cool. Me and my buddy Bob had these NWO chairs, and we wanted to bring them in and get them signed. And unfortunately, the venue said no weapons, which I couldn't understand because people were sitting on folding chairs, but we couldn't bring our folding chair in. So
wrestling, right?
Yeah, we were a little annoyed, and then we brought it up to Jeff Jarrett, and he's like, "Those son of a bitches," So that just made it even cooler. And I loved his action figure as a kid because he had the guitar. And again, I was a WCW guy, so him going out there busting guitars over people, I thought was really cool. Definitely doesn't get enough love in the business. I've been slowly listening to his podcast. It's a very interesting take from somebody whose father was in the business as well as him, and then them butting heads, with their creativity and their views on the wrestling. Old school versus new school, which is definitely a fun take. Him and Conrad do that one. I can't remember the name of it, but I just started listening to it. So,
for me, like you always, I didn't appreciate Jeff Jarrett until a lot of his TNA stuff. And then, when you listen to some of the podcasts, you realize it's unfortunate that I think Jeff took a lot of negativity from everybody's thoughts on his dad, and they just carried it forward. And I think that was just an uphill battle that he dealt with his whole career. On the other rumor and stuff that we all thought we knew that, we didn't know the actual comings and goings. But if you listen to his podcast, you get a pretty detailed description of what really happened during some of those situations. And it's pretty eye-opening. Jeff Jarrett, definitely one of the better minds in this business for real. And I think now he's probably getting a little bit more credit than he should have gotten way back when. So good for him. I actually also enjoy his podcast too as well.
Yeah, the one thing too with him is I think in those WWF days he was more built as a character, which wasn't taken seriously. He's just coming out there in his funny spandex, which are atrocious.
It looks like he had the ribbon top that was it was ridiculous.
And
the lighted hat.
Hair. Yeah, I didn't like that. I mean, I did like his body of work, but then also in WCW towards the end there, he kind of had that company on their back, his back, because I mean, Hogan was doing what he wanted to do. Nash and Hall had their things, their demons, all those big stars started to fizzle out because the ship was sinking, and Jeff Jarrett was out there being the champion. Granted, some of those storylines weren't great, but again, that's why WCW started to tank as bad as it did. But he doesn't get enough credit for trying to keep that place afloat, especially being the champion. So
for sure, the new blood, Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm. And then they had that one match, I believe. I think it was the Booker T one where the title thing fell out. And just some bad stuff there. I would love just to watch through some of that old WCW, just to see how bad it got towards the end because I was kind of blind to that stuff. But
I flirted with the idea of going back to about the time that the Monday Night Wars kicked off and just watching episode, mirroring it back and forth and just seeing if you can pick up where it actually happens. I think it'd be pretty unique to watch myself.
One moment that always stands out, I always bring it up, is again, selfless plug, meeting Kevin Nash, telling him about how he lawn darted Rey Mysterio. I will never forget that moment, just thinking he just killed a guy, but it would be fun just to kind of like put those videos up and just talk about them and say, oh my God, this was bad or this was great. Oops, we don't want to bring Darren Corbin on there.
Oh God, why do you got to bring him into this?
Oh, you're not a fan of the WrestlePalooza champion there?
No, actually, to be honest, I'm actually a Darren Corbin guy. Super Darren Corbin guy, actually.
I won't have you on this little show of mine if you weren't. So, no, just kidding. I love Darren. He's been good to me for 10 plus years. He agreed to sponsor this with no hassle. So it's a nice
super entertaining wrestler. I've got to see him wrestle a handful of times myself as well.
Can't get enough love for Darren there. Alrighty. So WCW, WWF. I've been writing stuff down as we go here. Back to TNA since we were on that. I want to kind of continue with that. There we go. Any wrestlers in TNA that you enjoyed or absolutely hated?
Have you dabbled into the early days of TNA at all yet? Have you gotten into that yet?
One of the teams that I do remember were the Flying Elvises. Those were quite cool. Sure. Jimmy Yang Wang, who is a phenomenal wrestler, by the way.
Super underrated. And when you watch his stuff in TNA, you can't understand why WWE didn't have more for him.
Gotcha.
Young AJ Styles is incredible. As good as AJ is now, TNA AJ is amazing. He is, it's cliche, but it is phenomenal. It is incredible to watch early AJ. Early TNA had a wrestler by the name of Sonny Siaki.
Okay.
Got hurt. It just never really went anywhere. But when you start to get into him, in my opinion, he was going to be the Rock 2.0.
Okay.
And it just didn't happen. Hated Vince Russo's involvement in TNA. Sports Entertainment Extreme was awful. I thought it was just it's Vince Russo holding on and trying to recreate Attitude Era WWE, and I thought it was awful. Raven has a pretty good body of work.
I love Raven.
TNA. You're probably gonna fall in love with the Monster Abyss. A lot of people don't talk about Abyss because TNA probably could have been, had he gotten the right platform, probably would have been talked about as one of the best big men in the business. Just incredible when you start to really get into the body work that Abyss put in at TNA. Not just as far as matches, but physically gave. A lot of people will talk about how much Mick Foley gave physically to the business. Abyss, he's given quite a bit as well. The girls at TNA, unfortunately, they just used their namesake for the women in TNA. Although there was a couple, Daphne got a little extra run there in TNA. That was kind of fun for a minute. And in your favorite ODB, she did some stuff in TNA there. Actually,
still gotta go see her food truck one of these days.
I didn't see her, but she had her food truck at Country Fest one year, and I was hoping that she would have made an appearance when I was there, but I didn't see her at that time. But ODB did some pretty good stuff with TNA. Actually, some pretty fun stuff. She again probably didn't get as much run as she should have, but TNA is a lot of people look down on it as a failure, but even as Impact now, it's hard to say they're a failure when there's still some carnation of them still functioning. So
this isn't a disrespectful comment to them. It's like the cockroach that won't die.
Pretty much.
But they're plugging away. They're putting on some great product now. Back to ODB. Al Snow mentioned in his book that he wanted her for Tough Enough, and the producers didn't want her because she didn't really have a lot of personality or probably a look, because she doesn't look like every supermodel out there, obviously. Which that's one thing about that, era too, is that bra and panties and stuff that, I mean, not a huge fan of it now as a kid, probably teenager, yeah, hormones, but she was different.
I'd love to go back and erase that from the annals, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I thought it didn't do the women any justice. Yep. Especially when you consider some of the women that were in that Divas locker room that definitely deserved more than they were being portrayed on TV.
Yeah. And I feel like Victoria got lost in that shuffle.
Absolutely.
Beth Phoenix.
I love Victoria.
I love Victoria and Beth Phoenix. I get a lot of hate for saying I feel like Beth Phoenix was better than Trish, only because I feel like she was ready to work, whereas Trish was learning as she went.
You're not wrong. So. You're not wrong. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, Victoria's Widow Peak at the time, one of the single best finishers I'd ever seen. That Widow's Peak finisher that she had was amazing. And it looked like it hurt. It looked devastating. It was top notch. That's why I love Victoria. She definitely she's a badass woman wrestler. So and
definitely scary as hell.
Absolutely. And in ODB, unfortunately, I would argue that ODB probably didn't get any run in WWE because I think that there's probably a little bit of the China hangover left over, and I think that you go from China and then you go into Beth Phoenix, and I don't necessarily know that they were ready to try to go down that road again, which is a shame because ODB is definitely you can't take away what she's done in terms of her line of work as well.
She's definitely got the charisma side of it now. I'm not trying to pick apart her looks or body shame. She just didn't look like those ones that we talked about, that are out there, exposing themselves, I'll say, in a nicer way, I guess, where that's why I like the Awesome Kongs, the Victoria, and, Nia Jax, I was hopeful for, and Dewdrop, which I hate the name.
The name is terrible. That name is terrible.
It is. And they're bigger girls, again, not body shaming, but they're not the fitness model. They're not the Playboy models. They're the girls that can wrestle. And that's what I absolutely love, as I was hoping, Awesome Kong and then Beth Phoenix would just run through these Barbies, to actually make it not a pee break match. It would be a match, And I give a lot of credit to the Bella Twins, because I feel like they legit brought some legitimacy. Brie, on the other hand, wasn't as great as Nikki, I feel. But I'm not a big fan of the Barbie Doll Divas. Mickie James is another one that, came out there and could actually wrestle.
I love Mickie James. I think that if you're not a fan of Mickie James, I don't think you're a fan of the business. That's just how I feel. A lot of that is one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time, Luna Vachon. Is my God, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I don't think that the oddities are what they are if they didn't have Luna involved at that time. Luna was incredible. A little loose cannon, but
imagine that character today. Yep.
Could you imagine if she had an opportunity in today's locker room? She'd be untouchable.
Yeah, she'd be the biggest star out there, probably.
I can't argue.
I mean, I can just imagine her and Asuka having some crazy meltdown in there.
Absolutely.
Getting out there to mix it up with, a real wrestler, Charlotte. I'm going to hate for saying that, but I love Charlotte.
Luna, you know what? Charlotte is what Charlotte is. You can't take away. I mean, the talent's there. You see it.
Yep.
I would think for me, a dream match would have been Luna versus Nikki Cross, not Nikki ASH, Nikki Cross. Luna and Nikki Cross would have been an incredible match if they found their way to meet each other. If life hadn't happened, but I think that would be some fun stuff because I think Nikki Cross again, not Nikki ASH.
Yeah,
Nikki Cross. I think WWE really missed something there. That ASH character is. I mean, it doesn't do any justice. That when she was part of Insanity. That version of Nikki Cross was awesome.
I mean, she got the title, but for that brief period, and then as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. And
I didn't know. I didn't think I needed another version of the Hurricane. I was good with the one that I had when
Right.
I was younger.
Mhm. I did feel like they could have got a little bit out of it with her and Molly Holly for a second, but that's about it. Just because, Royal Rumble.
I was hoping for a little bit of a Molly Holly run after that Royal Rumble because the fans were there for it. I tell you what,
Yep.
I was there for it. I love Molly Holly.
Yeah, from what I hear, she's a sweetheart. I haven't got a chance to meet her yet. That would be definitely one to meet for sure.
I think your guy Darren Corbin knows her probably pretty well, huh?
Yeah, I'm assuming so, as well as like Cannon, Davari.
Yes, sir.
Probably trained with his brother and her when they were coming up. There's a video package I'll have to find and try to send it to you where OBD, Ken Anderson, Davari, and Jonathan Parks. I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
The name is familiar.
King Leonidas right now. That's his chick. He's doing the whole Spartan Warrior. Before, I think he was like the Dingo Warrior or something like that. Some kangaroo thing. Oof. Yeah, I mean, he's a good wrestler, built. For what he does, he seems to have a pretty good following at Heavy on Wrestling. He seems to be pretty well loved by the fans. To me, I'm not a big fan of the character, but he's always been super nice to me, so I can't, talk too much smack. I just have my opinion of that. But back to women's wrestling.
I was say one of these days you're gonna get me up there and show me this Heavy on Wrestling that you are so fond of.
I'm hoping they're making a comeback. I've been talking with some of my other wrestling friends, about trying to light a fire and get some things going. I've got some ideas for here, and
I saw a little. I thought didn't I just see a little teaser for Heavy on the DPW site recently?
Yep, they're actually going to be doing some stuff at Rockfest this year. People who aren't familiar with that, it's a big concert here in Wisconsin. Yeah, they're supposedly doing some stuff there. I think Joe's there today. He said that Ken Anderson, I think Cannon's going to be there. He's usually hanging out. Silas Young, and there's another name escaping me right now that I can't think of. But yeah, they're supposed to be doing something there. Dave usually has a couple tricks up his sleeve, but hopefully he gets up and going again. He's had some stuff going on in life. Don't want to divulge his stuff because that's not my life, or one to not one to pass it on, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
But back to women's wrestling. I feel again Michelle Mccool was another one that just got kind of lost in that shuffle. The girl she was a tag team with there, I can see her in my head. Not Lana. What was her name?
Is it Lillian? No.
Oh boy, I feel like an idiot because I was just thinking.
Now you're talking about a generation that little snippet of WWE women wrestling. I just for some reason, even though I was half paying attention at that time, it just didn't register for me. Like I know obviously we all know Michelle Mccool, right? I mean,
yep.
But unfortunately, I think that we all know Michelle Mccool for more of who her husband is.
Now, yeah. Yep, now definitely.
Ring. And I think that's probably more unfortunate because I know that I've seen a little bit of what she did, and she should be she should be known more for her ring work, not who her husband is. But
and I think
that I mean, you're talking like Ashley Massaro, that little run of women. That's right before I believe that's Paige started to come up right around that time. Right at the end of that, you had CM Punk's wife there. Her name is AJ Lee.
Caitlin's another one that just kind of could have been something. I think she had a lot of personal stuff too. She wasn't ready. I believe she said in one of her episodes that she put out, or some podcast she was on. So
she got a little run there right before it just seemed to not work out again. So
yeah, she did I always say Cruiserweight Classic, the Mae Young Classic. She did that. She got a pretty big pop. I think she was going to make a return, and I believe that was the time that she started going through divorce with her husband. Not trying to throw accusations or speculations out there, but I think it was like some domestic issues there that she was dealing with him.
Yep.
And then she ultimately is now, I think, married to someone else. But yeah, I always loved her for what she did. different look. Again, not the typical Barbie, and again, not to body shame, but she was, more of a power woman. Natalya,
Who doesn't love
yeah,
Natalya? It's a
it's
shame.
yeah,
My personal opinion, Natalya should be in the conversation of greatest of all time. Uh,
hmm
just you look at what her body of work is, and she's been
and
consistent, and she's
longevity.
always there.
Yep,
She's
yep,
always there.
yep,
She had a little hiccup here recently, and hopefully that's just no big deal. It's all just kind of being
yeah.
blown out of proportion. But
As is everything
Natalia,
on the
I've
internet.
always said, yeah, right. I've said for
Mhm,
a long time the fact that Natalia doesn't have at least 10 reigns as women's champ
mhm.
is it's a shame. It's a discredit to her, in my opinion.
And it seems like the great workers tend to get just that, mudslide of putting people over, and that's kind of, how she was built. She's very technical in there. I always liked her. Her and Beth Phoenix could have been just a powerful tag team if they would have kept going with that. The women's tag team titles are just kind of
No,
non-existent slash, I don't want to say
they're just
joke,
sitting
but
there.
like, hmm and then I guess Cora Jade just kind of attacked her tag team partner after just winning the championship there in the NXT 2.0. And I don't know if you saw the clip yet. She goes to hit her with the skateboard, and the skateboard dissolves before she hits her, which, that's unfortunate. That happens in life, mistakes. But, now they kind of clean that up as well as clean up this storyline that they have tag team champions fighting. So,
It'll be interesting to see where they go. I'm really hopeful that that Triple H has got a little bit more say in NXT again, because I think when they went to this NXT 2.0, I think it was a mistake. That's my opinion. I think they were really building some solid stuff down there. I mean, everybody, not just the men. They had women that were. I mean, you look at Bianca Belair.
yes.
While I'm not a giant Bianca
Mhm.
Belair guy myself, but I understand what she does and what she brings to the table. But they've just been breeding stars down there. And then when they took Triple H off of the captaincy table there, I just thought, man, what a mistake, because they were really building some talent down there.
And I think the other thing too is this version is what it was supposed to be with the training. But who's to say they can't just move that to another show and just have the NXT running? Because there's another one there, I can't remember what it's called right off the top of my head, that they're doing as well, where it's still the new people. But I get it, they're just trying to take the star power away from it, so that when they do probably get up to the main roster, they don't have all this not excess stuff, but like the Adam Coles and the Riley, you bring them up and you want to switch everything. So maybe that's why they're,
well, I mean, then we
dumbing
could
it down,
uncork the whole debate of who's in charge at the head of the table there in WWE, and how there maybe needs to be a change. But I don't think we have enough time for that podcast.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And then sometimes I disagree because I'm a two side of the coin kind of guy.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, yes, maybe something new would be exciting, especially with the way things are going. I just saw a report they're going to TV 14,
I was
which
just
isn't
gonna say,
going to
but
change.
hey, we're gonna go back to the Attitude Era.
Which, I mean, hopefully they don't sex it up too much. I hope they have a little bit more respect for the women, which I'm sure they will, because right now is very fragile with anything like that. And again, I can't reiterate, like, as a teenager, yeah, it was my hoop and hurrah, but I feel more as an adult, now that, not the selfless brag here, but I have a girlfriend, I have a lot of female friends, and I've learned, over time,
I think a
can't be
lot of
like
us,
that,
a lot of us look back at that and go, man, especially those of us that have a different appreciation for what wrestling is now.
Mhm.
You just see, well, I mean, especially knowing the reports of stuff that have happened around that time. It's just unfortunate, they really didn't take their women seriously. And, the problem with that is as good as, we look at Trish and you say what she did, what could Trish have done if she didn't have to worry about crawling around on all fours in her bra and panties all the time? What if she was just allowed to wrestle her entire duration?
Exactly. And I feel, this isn't to take away from them too, is like Lita and her were like the main two. So I feel like their popularity is a little bit not exaggerated. I mean, they did put in the work, they did put in the time and effort, but when they were the only two that were at the top there for a while, when, like we said, there's a bunch that were there that didn't get used, their star power probably wouldn't have been as bright if you had Victoria out there, Jazz. That's another great worker out there that doesn't get enough credit. Ivory, she could work.
I was just gonna say Ivory.
Yep.
Ivory, man. Ivory was a technician, just a ring general.
Yep. And I mean, I'd have to go back and look now, but I'm sure there's a lot more women in that locker room that could have been over more. But then again, they sexualized Trish. Obviously, if you go back and look at some of her ring gear, Lita with what she kind of wore to stand out.
Lita, what she did after Team Extreme. I mean, the stuff with Edge. It's unfortunate. You take away. I think you took away a lot of the respect that they had with and that's not to take away. They both had Hall of Fame careers, but I think they
definitely not taking that away.
I think it should have been more, in my opinion.
And they could have capitalized more on what they could, like you said, brought to the table versus just here I am, I have my figure, But I think the '90s had a lot to do with that too, and the 2000s. Because that's just how society was, like Playboy and all that.
If only we weren't teens with access to Google.
Yeah, yep. I mean, if you look at some of those music videos back in the day too, Britney, Christina Aguilera, some of those rap videos too. I mean, yeah. Oof.
Oh, yeah. It hasn't gotten better either.
No. And some of the things they say, not to mention do in those videos. But to each their own. It's a new demographic. I'm starting to feel the old man syndrome. Oh, when I was a kid, I try not to do that too much.
Yeah.
I do like messing with the kids here all the time. Like, do you know what a VHS player is? A what? VHS? That's what I used to watch movies on.
Yeah, I just had this moment. Yeah, I wanted to drive my car into a brick wall when somebody tried to ask me what a VCR was, and I went, I'm out.
Every time we go to the antique store, I like to make fun of Amy and be like, do you know what this is? No, it's an 8-track. What's that? Well, it's kind of like a cassette before cassette. Oh, I'm like, I'm pretty sure your dad had them because, I'm right up there with him and his age, so. But. Anyways, I guess we can start segueing into these few questions, questions I have for you. And then we can get to my favorite part. So the show me the collectibles part. So we'll get back into more of the wrestling males mostly because I don't know of any other. Besides one. What are some of your favorite wrestling families out there?
I mean, obviously, it's the Hearts, right? The Brett and Owen from start to finish, the ups and downs, and that match. Maybe one of the best matches. I mean, I can go back and watch that match now, and I know the outcome, but it's incredible how they get us there. I mean, you'd be silly not to talk about what the Von Erichs did for wrestling. Even though it should have been more. It should have been a lot more.
Definitely a tragedy right there. Yep.
Absolutely. And you can't deny. You have what Ric Flair did, and now you look what Charlotte's doing. So even though it's just it's a 2-part bit. I mean, you have to consider them one of the best wrestling families right now. Because
I mean, David got out there too, so you can't take away from a little bit David did. Yeah,
he had his run there in WCW, but I mean, for all extensive purposes, it's Charlotte and Rick. And I really wish this Ric Flair's last match wasn't happening, but that's just me. I don't need to see 80-some-year-old Ric Flair taking a flat back again. But it's for me, it's the Hearts. It has to be the Hearts, right? I mean, it's Owen, it's Brett, it's Anvil, it's Davey Boy. I mean, it's just. I mean, pick a match that any of them are in, and you're watching a match that you can actually emotionally invest yourself into. That Davey Boy and Brett match for the IC title. It's a top 3 all time.
That main event at London, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And then not to mention, like, not only, the four that you just named, but you've got the other brothers that wrestled. His dad definitely cemented his legacy and for the Hart Dungeon there. I mean, how many wrestlers
Absolutely.
have we heard that have went through that? And back to Natalia being part of the Hart family, Tyson Kidd, as well
Oh, what
as
could have been.
British Bulldogs kid, another
Yep,
legacy right there, Um,
absolutely.
and then also you got the Guerreros, that's a 2-3 generation thing right there. It's well, with Chavo not getting enough credit for being a third generation superstar, they always talked about, Orton and who was the other third time one there? Cody,
Well, I
like,
mean,
those legacies, but
and then you got the Samoans. I mean, that's an incredible
oh,
what a lineage.
talk about a tree right there.
I mean, you could no, not you could. It's the best family in wrestling, right? I mean, look how far back it goes. Look at the stars it's produced.
Peter
And I think a lot of people just
Wild
don't realize
Samoan,
just
yep.
who's all tangled.
Rikishi,
The names that are in
Umaga.
that web are just amazing. Absolutely.
Another
The
one
head
that
shrinkers. I mean, look at it.
yeah, yep. I definitely love Umaga and Yokozuna. Those are some of my favorite from there. Roman's killing it right now.
Yoko, this version of Roman is, he's untouchable. This version of Roman is everything that I think all of us ever wanted.
I definitely love it. Another family doesn't get enough respect is the Armstrongs, Road Dogg, and his dad Bullet, as well as his brother who was a ref. I've got the Malinkos down. You got Boris, who trained a lot of wrestlers. Dean, phenomenal. The man of 1,000 holds. Chris Jericho, the man of 1,001 holds.
Yeah, I was
still
say,
one of my favorite.
Maybe one of the best segments in WCW history.
Yeah. For what Jericho is becoming and has been lately, I mean, I don't want to get into that too much,
absolutely.
But had to make that stupid joke there. The Gunn family, Billy Gunn is, out there doing it with his two boys. They're starting to be somewhat successful. Yep.
The Ass Boys.
Who knows what's going to happen there. My personal favorite, because I'm a huge Goldust fan, Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes. I love the Rhodes.
Man.
They're tied there with the Guerreros.
Did you ever get to experience him live?
One more time.
Did you ever get a chance to see Goldust wrestle?
Yeah. So
did you ever get to see Goldust wrestle?
Yeah, the first house show I saw him at SmackDown in Duluth. Got to see him, kind of fanboyed out. And then when I met him, I got super nervous. Only said that like 9 times to him. As well as pretty much every WWE show that I had went to up to that point, he was on the card. Like when he wrestled Ted DiBiase at Breaking Rights, I saw him there. He wrestled. Another family is the Hennings. He wrestled Kurt Henning's son.
How did we leave that out? Oh man,
yeah, I definitely forgot to write that one down. Now I'm kicking myself for being a horrible fan.
That's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I wanted to meet his dad so bad, but I unfortunately, passed away before I was able to go to some wrestling shows and see him.
So how are we not talking about the Rotunda family?
I do have that one wrote down.
IRS, Bravo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Barry Windham, cousin or uncle there. Yep. I have them wrote down here. As well as where is it there? Where'd it go? Yep, Rotunda's right after that. The Vachons, there it is. The one I'm missing here. Mad Dog. What was the other one called? Butcher.
You'd fit right in with the Vachon family. Look at you.
I'd probably be a Wyatt. I mean, only because it's not a real family, but it's a fake one. I got the beard, so.
I could see you being Luna's long lost brother.
And it's funny because everybody's like, "Oh, you must have grew up because you're a Wyatt fan." I'm like, "Well, I like the Wyatts, but I grew up because Daniel Bryan." And then the last few years, it's just kind of stuck. And I thought about sharing it.
Stuck with it.
Yeah, because it's my logo now, so I feel stupid if I don't have the big red beard. But
You got all that
eventually
now.
one
You got
day-
all that merch. Now you got all that
Yeah,
merch. You can't shave it. Now
yeah.
you're
So
tied
now
to
I'm
it.
kind of stuck into it. So definitely. Yeah. Back to the Hennings though. Kurt Henning, man, just phenomenal. That's another one that could have easily held the strap in WWF
Not
instead
could
of
have,
Hogan.
should have. Not
Yeah.
could have, should have.
Okay, I will take that correction. I mean, he wrestled Nick Bockwinkel there in AWA and held it. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's
Remember those Mr. Perfect vignettes were some of the greatest things. Throwing a
hitting the home
touchdown to himself.
run, and yep. And I remember that he was friends with Wade Boggs, and I remember buying some cards, and I was like, "Oh, this is Mr. Perfect's friend," you know. Like, I don't know really much about Wade Boggs except for that. So
I've never seen somebody take a turnbuckle like Mr. Perfect ever in my life. It's incredible.
yeah, he was definitely. Oh man, now I'm
Way
gonna have to
too
go home and
soon.
watch that.
I could have a
documentary.
I could have a Mr. Perfect just fest every night of the week. I mean, match after match after match.
Yeah. Man. Can't believe I forgot that one on the list.
Yep. Now this podcast just lost all its validity.
Yeah, it's
Way to
just,
go.
everybody just unsubscribe, unfollow. I understand. It's not like a cool fact, but my buddy Joe, well, Clutch, I guess you would say, he's an artist as well, and he did an art show down in Minneapolis during one of I think it was a pay-per-view or a house show we were going to, and Bob and I actually got to sign the guest book. And just ahead of us was, I believe, his wife's or his sister's signature. So we felt pretty cool that we were in the same book as a Henning. But
you dog.
Yeah, we felt pretty special about that. I should have told Bob to steal it, but he would have. So I didn't tell him that. So Bob has a lot bigger cojones and a better beard than me. So he will do what needs to be done for his wrestling collection. So. But back to the Rhodes as well. Huge Dusty fan. I got the tattoo. I don't know why I keep switching behind me, but it's fine. I got a Gold Dust tattoo as well. I love everything about Dusty, the charisma. I was going to do my intros in a style like he does, with some rhyming and, promo style, but
every promo. There's not a bad Dusty promo. There just isn't.
No. Yeah, that's one that I wish I could have met. When he passed away, I was legitimately sad. Him and Eddie were the two that kind of, childhood heroes. And I, again, selfless brag, but meeting Ted DiBiase and telling him how he pissed me off because he stole, Dusty Rhodes' valet from him and took off in the limo. And that was one of the first pay-per-views that I watched over and over all the time was I rented that one from the video store. And then Dusty chasing after, and I just felt so bad for him, as a kid, like, oh my God, he stole his friend. But, obviously now that I know the magic behind it. Yeah. But yeah, definitely connect a lot with the Rhodes. The polka dots, I love the polka dots. I don't care what anybody says. It made them look like
I never had an issue with the polka dots. I thought the polka dots were, they are what they are. I mean, that's Dusty, right? I mean, to me, I prefer Dusty with the polka dots. I can't see Dusty not wearing polka dots. And I've seen all the old Dusty stuff, but it's still, for me, it's polka dot Dusty.
I think another way is I gravitated too because, again, going back to the being bullied and, he was a bigger guy. So I just kind of resonated with him. And that's why I like Otis too, because he's not your typical big, muscle-bound guy. He's just a common man, We won't get into my love for Otis. You can watch that on episode 4. But
we can't talk about Otis. My my significant other upstairs is still heartbroken over the heel turn. So
if I ever get a chance to meet him, maybe I can get you some. Well, I've met him, but I mean some more stuff and try to get her something like maybe I can get him to say I'm sorry or something for you.
She has the Otis Money in the Bank Funko Pop upstairs. That's her jam.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I almost bought one that was signed, but I was like, I'll get it eventually. So we can lead into another little thing here before we start talking about my fanboy for Otis. How about some favorite brother tag teams? Because I know you and your brother watch wrestling together. We haven't covered him too much because hopefully in the future we'll get you both on. And I'd like to get him on separately before we bring into that But any favorite brother tag teams? Now, they don't have to be real brothers, because this is wrestling and we can totally, look over that little fact. So,
I mean, is there anybody outside of the Hardys? I mean,
yeah,
no, it was Hardys for us. I mean, that was so different, right? I mean, the Hardys came up, it was a look, Jeff with the rainbow hair, and not to mention Jeff jumping off anything that wasn't not, I mean, if it was there, he could jump off of it. It was incredible. Edge and Christian, I mean, the brothers, that I actually preferred Edge and Christian over both of them as singles. That's my opinion.
You're missing the third one in that little ragtag of
the Dudleys
back there.
Yeah,
the Dudleys. I love the Dudleys.
I've always loved the Dudleys. It's one of my favorite wrestling stories. Once I heard it is going out there against the APA in their first match and just taking the whooping, and then for them to come back and say the Dudleys are good in our books. That's incredible.
Yep, and shake their hand and say thank you. Yep.
They didn't tag a whole lot, but Brett and Owen had some pretty good runs. When they would when they were tagging, it was pretty good. I don't know if you remember the Smoking Guns. They were pretty hot.
Yeah, I've got the Gunn brothers down there.
Yep.
The only reason I remember that one is Billy Gunn. Yep.
So now more up to date for me. Not a big fan of Matt and Nick Jackson. But I get it. Consensus. But I mean, I get it. I get why they're good right now. It's just it's fun. The Bullet Club is a thing. The Briscoes, I think, are super underrated, even though a lot of people tell you that they're just where they should be. But until you see the Briscoes featured predominantly on mainstream television, to me, they're criminally underrated because I've seen a few of their matches and they are so good. But for us, it's the Hardys, man. I mean, Matt and Jeff, I think that I don't think you're going to get too many arguments if you say, even just in general, best tag team, not regardless of brothers, but maybe the best tag team of all time. I mean, and I don't. Yeah,
I'd put them up there.
Definitely. Argue. Yeah, absolutely. So
I just hope that with everything that's going on with Jeff, I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, hopefully he gets it figured out because I hope they get that last run, that last send off. He gets healthy because I don't want to read about another one dying.
Yeah, I had this conversation with my brother, with Jace recently. Jeff is already considered legendary, right? I mean, Hall of Fame, obviously. But I would argue, and I think if you take an honest look at it, I think Jeff would have been the best of all time had Jeff not gotten in his own way. I mean, you talk just overall charisma and it factor. I mean, he had, and Shawn Michaels is great. But I think Jeff had everything that Shawn might not have had. I think Jeff had. And I think that Jeff got in his own way. And I think that even though it's a Hall of Fame career and it's an epic career, it could have been and should have been a lot more.
Yeah, I think Shawn has said it in an interview or two, too, that, he knew the entertainment side of it, where he was comparing himself to Brett, where Brett was more the wrestling.
Yep.
So, I mean, I can totally see where he's coming from. One I haven't mentioned just yet is the Usos. I absolutely love the Usos. When they came out with the face paint.
Version? Yeah, what version of the Usos
I like the face paint. Not so high on the, it's not to sound derogatory, but more their gangster stuff they're doing.
And we are definitely an opposite.
I've always loved every match that they've been in, I'm just a sucker for face paint because that was kind of what I liked about Gold Dust, Road Warriors, and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But anything that they touch just comes out looking great. Now, obviously, another one that has some issues that hopefully he gets cleared up and stops doing for the safety of himself and others out there. But definitely love the Usos. They were probably one of my favorites. Do
you remember the Bashams, the Bastion Brothers,
the two bald guys that have the
yes sir,
really tall dominatrix manager? Yeah, I think she was the tough enough winner.
No, what the ones that were right around the same time as Edge and Christian and the Hardys, but they came in at the wrong time. The littler guys, not the two tall twins.
Are you talking the Headbangers?
No, not the Headbangers. I'm gonna Google this and get back to you. But there's the Bashams. They were right around the same time, right early Attitude Era. Just didn't get enough run because of the tag team at that time.
I'll have to look that up. It sounds familiar, but the ones I'm thinking of were like bald. They had leather pants, and then they had the one girl who would come out and like scream at them the whole time. Maybe I'm thinking of a different team then.
I think you're thinking of a different team, but
because I know they had the like Nation of Domination. They had the biker gang during that time too, when that was starting out. And there was another team in there too that was really weird.
Oh well, I mean, how can we not talk about Ron and Don Harris, right?
That one I'm not too familiar with.
Ooh, man. You actually, I think, no, yep, you'll find them when you start getting into your TNA stuff.
Okay.
They are definitely a couple big bad dudes that you probably wouldn't want to run into on the streets. But they were a couple big brothers too, so.
Well, I'm beard tough, so what do they got? I'm just kidding. I know we mentioned the Briscoes, but what about the other Briscoes from the early days? I mean, those guys picked out some good talent. They also put on some stellar, performances back in their day.
Absolutely.
We talked about the Rotunda family. We never got to see Bo and Bray team up. Could you just imagine that pairing?
It was a shame. I wanted it so bad. I thought when they had The Fiend was coming on, and I thought to myself, man, there's room they could do something with Bo there. I just thought, man, what a missed opportunity to do something with Bo.
And normally yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people look at Bo Dallas and what the Bo leave thing. Bo is very talented, very talented. It just, to me, based on some of the things that I've read after the fact, I think Bo kind of fell out of love with the business. Gotcha. And I can imagine when you grow up in the business, I can imagine that's pretty tough to find love for it for as long as some of these guys do.
Yeah, definitely. I don't remember too much about him, but I just thought it was kind of cheesy and like, God, I hate this guy. But if he's being a heel, then he's doing his job. Other ones, Randy and Lenny Poffel. Again, we didn't really get to see them too much because opposite spectrums of their careers. Primo and Carlito.
Oh, man.
I know he teamed up with his cousin.
I forgot all about that.
That's one that's always a mystery to me that just kind of just disappeared. I mean, he's in phenomenal shape now. He looks good, but
that I don't see comeback at Rumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
That comeback at Rumble, I thought, man, he looks incredible. There has to be something they can do with him. Carlito, super, super awesome. Great wrestler.
I kind of feel like not to compare him too much to this football player, like in a sense, but I feel like he's like a Ricky Williams that just thought, like I did my thing. I got paid.
Yep.
Now I just want to hang out and do my thing.
Like Orange Cassidy before Orange Cassidy.
So, yeah, I mean, great shtick, had a good thing, but I just, again, I think he just took his bag and went home, and he's happy with that. The Steiner brothers.
I can't believe I forgot. I can't believe I forgot the Steiners. That is, I honestly, the Steiners, man. When they first came out with those neon tights, and they were just killing guys with that Frankensteiner, man. It was like you couldn't convince me that guys weren't going to break their necks when they came off of his shoulders, man. It was incredible.
Yeah, I was definitely a huge fan of Rick just because obviously you know who my dad is, and he did the little
dog face gremlin and the bulldog, right? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. That's why I kind of put him, above the rest. Now they weren't necessarily brothers, but you've got the Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson back in the Four Horsemen dominant team.
Four Horsemen, greatest of all time.
Yep. We talked about the Young Bucks. We don't have to spend much time on them because I don't care for them either.
Gold Dust and Stardust?
Yeah, I got the roads down. How about the Godwins? You remember the Godwins?
I do remember the Godwins.
I love the Godwins.
The slop drop.
Yep.
They had that Big Pen match.
Yeah, the Big Pen match. I got a bucket signed by both of them from Dave. I just remembered now. I got to get a hold of
do
them and get
believe I
that.
have seen a picture of that, Cal.
Yeah. Phineas, man, just watching him live on that signing, he was just a gem. I think those guys got a little too drunk.
For sure.
That's my personal opinion, but I think everybody did because towards the end they were laughing too much and not paying attention to the chat. But definitely enjoyed those guys just because they were, one of those funny gimmicks and running out with a slop bucket.
Absolutely.
We did talk about the guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Gimmick wrestling, right?
Yep. And then the Lucha Brothers, who are AEW right now, those guys are doing some good work. I feel like that's a team they're not using enough.
Those are breathtaking matches when you see those guys go out and wrestle. Now, I understand the lucha style. I do think it's a lot of spot fest wrestling, but for what it is breathtaking. It is amazing, and it's not my favorite type of wrestling, but man, is it so fun to watch because you can't imagine how they're able to pull some of that stuff off without literally dying every night.
Oh, and definitely putting their body on the line for sure.
For sure.
And definitely one who will be up and coming. You've seen them live. I've seen them live. I'm sure you've met them and talked to them as well. But Top Flight.
So I haven't talked. I didn't get too much time to spend with Darius. Not as much as I did get an opportunity to. I was actually thinking about that today when I was talking with you earlier. One of my favorite memories now that I see Devontae just taking off, and I mean taking off. I think he's going to be an absolute stud of a star in this business because he's so young and he's got so much more to grow. But I watched Devontae pre-show working with a very young Ying Mua right after we set up the ring. And I mean, you just watch Devontae, and the things he does in the ring, it's effortless. I mean, he just moves. He is like part of the ring. I hope that Darius can get, come back from some of these injuries and that hopefully this isn't an injury bug situation. Because if he can stay healthy and Devontae continues to grow, I mean, you're looking at maybe the greatest of all time if they're able to really put some stuff together here.
And not to correct you, sound like a pompous ass. It's Dante, not Devontae, like your former Packer receiver.
I hate you.
Okay, we had a receiver, and I kept saying we need one in the draft, and then they trade away potentially our only good receiver, which I'm not saying Hollywood Brown is, top 10 worthy, but at least he caught some balls. But anywho, yes, Dante and Darius.
Yes, Dante. So that's the other thing is I didn't know him as Dante at that time. It was Airwolf and it was Angel. So they had some pretty spectacular matches over here in the Eagles Club in Lake Hallie. Darius had one of maybe one of my favorite matches of all time, regardless of WWE or anything. And I watched that happen in Lake Hallie, Wisconsin as well. So.
And that's a great segue. Why don't we jump into Showtime? Tell us a little bit about Showtime.
So, Showtime has really taken off, in my opinion, lately. I back when Higher Ground and Showtime ran together as SCW, Showtime Championship Wrestling. Big fan. I hadn't ever actually went to any of the local independents at that time, but my brother convinced me, hey, let's go check this out. And we went, and we were both just like, hey man, this is awesome. Like it's not WWE, and nor do I want it to be WWE. But it was incredible because you're watching guys that are working their tails off to entertain a crowd that is there for it, so they had that little split there, and I reached out to Troy shortly after their split there, and I said, hey man, I've been super passionate about wrestling my whole life. I kind of like to be involved, and he Troy was willing to allow me to come in and do some stuff behind the scenes and set up and stuff. And that's kind of what I've been doing now for, technically I've been involved for about 2.5 years, but we lost about 1.5 years to COVID.
We won't count it.
But I will say that not just Showtime, the wrestling business, as far as the local independent wrestling scene in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has come back on fire since they've been allowed to start running shows again, and it has been incredible. So super grateful for Troy for giving me the opportunity to do some behind the scenes stuff with them, and it's been super enjoyable to fall in love with a different side of wrestling. I'm watching an empty room turn into a wrestling venue, and once that ring is up and the boys are able to get out in the ring and roll around a little bit, watching matches get put together, it's really deepened my love for professional wrestling in general, and super grateful for Troy and Showtime.
I don't want to take away from Showtime, but back to your point about Midwest wrestling here. I believe I made a list probably 4 months ago, and I had about 15 to 20 promotions on there just between Minneapolis and Wisconsin, and it is crazy how much is out there right now. MAW, HOW, is Wrestlers First Wrestling. Those are some of my favorites, but then you've got the SCW, you got ACW there with Hornswoggle. I mean, it's just crazy. Like you said, you got Showtime down there. You got All Out Pro Wrestling. You've got
Higher Ground. You got Higher Ground.
It's just, I can't keep up with it. I'm pretty sure I sent you events all the time. Anytime there's a big name, I'm on it.
Yes, sir. You still do.
There's another promotion out of Duluth. I do not like to name drop because, I don't want anything coming back to me. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You can feel free to drop it for me here if you want to plug them.
Discover Pro Wrestling.
Exactly. I don't talk about them because I don't want any issues with said people, but they are still a wrestling company, and if someone's involved with them, that's perfectly fine with me. It's just, we all know my story. But yeah, back to Showtime. You said you got to watch that whole process. Now, can you tell us kind of what some of your behind the scenes jobs are?
So it started off, I just ring crew, and still ring crew. I do the grunt work just like everybody else. And then, I put together the entryway and set up all that stuff. And then, I was able to, I'm at the point now where I can bounce ideas off of Troy, and, actually seeing some of my ideas play out in the middle of a ring. That's, I can't even begin to tell you how cool of an experience that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then, now we're looking to kind of, branch out in some of our venues, maybe take Showtime on the road a little bit more. So that's kind of something that is kind of an evolving process right now. Obviously, I think Hallie's always going to be somewhat of a home base for us, and we're kind of starting to put our feet down in Rice Lake a little bit. Rice Lake has got
great.
Rice Lake they are there for some wrestling, and it's a shame that more people don't venture into Rice Lake because Rice Lake has a love for wrestling. We've put on 2 shows now in Rice Lake, and actually we're coming back later this year for a 3rd show.
Perfect.
And I'm really looking forward to it because that venue there I really dig the venue there. And
that's the Elk Lodge one, right?
The Elk Lodge, yes, sir. The crowd. That's too hot. That's two of the hottest crowds that I've been to so far has been in Rice Lake. So really looking forward to getting back to Rice Lake, and really looking forward to taking Showtime to some different venues. We've two years in a row now, we've actually put on a pretty good show at the Cornell Fair. So if you get a chance next year to I'm sure we'll be back at the Cornell Fair. That is a fun show. We had a real good turnout this year. Skits, who happens to be probably my current favorite pro wrestler in general right now, is incredible to watch. Yep. If you get a chance, if you get a chance to go see Skits on a card, drop everything and go see it. But after the match of the night that night for us at the Cornell Fair, that was Dad Bod God Nathan Sensation versus Joey Avalon, and Joey Avalon is starting to get some traction now, and start he got a little he had a little dip there in AEW. Joey Avalon, criminally underrated and deserves.
Yes,
If
love
he's
Joey
about to
here.
pop, if Joey is about to pop, Joey 100% deserves it because he is incredible. And and if we're gonna talk Joey, Sierra is equally as incredible as Joey, and they both are so fun to watch. And it's been awesome to say that I've seen both of them wrestle in what people would call small venues, but I've seen them put on big show matches. So,
and they definitely have the following here in the Midwest, from all the way over by Green Bay down in
lacrosse.
Then there's farther south down there by
Iowa.
Milwaukee.
I know they do a lot of shows in Iowa. They're always in Milwaukee. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just more tuned into Minnesota and Wisconsin stuff because that's kind of my driving route. But yeah, Joey, Sierra definitely, hopefully within the next few years, can get a chance to get to that next level, even in MLW or even just on AEW. Continue to work there. That's been great for Dante. It's been great for Darius as well as Sky Blue. Blair Onyx, I would love to see continue to shine. JDX. Oh my gosh.
JDX is some. JDX has been. I think JDX, in my opinion, is about to pop as well. He's starting to get a little traction on some of the big boys there too. So,
yeah, and I mentioned in another episode too that he's one I feel like has gone out and seeked more. Not saying or shaming anybody who hasn't, but I feel like he's one of the few that have gone out to see what's out there, to branch out. Now, Darren and Eric, I love those guys to death. They're kind of only up here now. They're kind of rocking things up here. But, yeah, JDX, Devon Monroe.
Devon Monroe is another one. If you have an opportunity, if you are a fan of professional wrestling in this Midwest area, and Devon Monroe is on a card, that is a cannot miss match. Do not get up for your popcorn break.
When I said that I watched on him,
absolutely not. When I said I watched a match with Darius or Airwolf at the time, that was the best match I've ever seen. It was against Devon Monroe.
That one there,
it was incredible. They did a Broadway, and it was, it was nonstop, and both are so talented, so talented.
Yeah, oh man, every time I see Devon, I feel like, I don't know, he probably thinks I'm the biggest fangirl, but I'm always like, you got a new 8x10, I need one. And I'm constantly
I'm the same way about Devon. I love unfortunately, as you know, there's a lot of weird things that happen in the professional wrestling business where I probably won't get to watch Devon Monroe wrestle as much as maybe I want to, but that's not to say that I don't think that he is overly talented, and I really think that he has much more to do in the wrestling business. So I'm very excited to see people like that.
And you and I both know that behind the scene things we're not going to throw it out here because we're privy to some information. But at the end of the day, these people are going to make decisions that ultimately reflect on them. But I also see the other side of it, protecting a business. But definitely, he has grown, he has shown, and he's about ready to glow. Every time I see him wrestle, I feel just lost in the moment. Him and Sonny Kiss, definitely a match made in heaven. They are both phenomenal athletes that I just hope get the time to shine. We're living in the new era, kind of what I'm talking about with this, and they deserve the world. They really do. I would love to get him on here and just talk to him. I would probably fangirl out for the first half of it.
Yeah, well, can you invite me into that conversation?
Definitely. You are welcome on here anytime.
It's hard to deny. It's really hard to deny that what Ken Anderson has going on over there with the Academy is, they are pumping out really good talent. Brandon Moore is I don't know how Brandon Gore isn't on our TV every week. He is so
Sorry.
good and
Yeah.
and just great. I mean,
I like,
and I've
yeah.
seen all those guys, all of them.
Yeah.
Darren Corbin is pound for pound, in my opinion, one of the most entertaining wrestlers in this
Mhm.
Midwest area that you're gonna find, and you just can't deny it because whether he is hated or he's cheered, he's there for it, and he puts on a show and he backs it up.
Yeah.
So kudos to those guys at the academy for pumping out wrestler after wrestler after wrestler in this Midwest
And
area.
I definitely loved Riley Jackson. He gave me those Dolph Ziggler vibes.
Riley Jackson is the best heel in the business, and I will go down on that ship. We just had him in Showtime for a match against Silas Young. If you haven't had a chance, check out the Showtime YouTube channel, and that match is on there to watch. And Riley held his own against a very experienced Silas, and it was actually a very, very, very entertaining match.
So the show that I believe you and Jace went to, you guys were doing the dad bod section. I remember that vividly well. We took my nephew as well as my godson, Harley Joe's son. And, I'm teaching the kids how to be the sign guy, because I think it's great. It's a memory they'll always have. I'm 30 some years old and I still find it funny when I get a sign ripped up. But he came through and ripped up my nephew's sign, and Joe's son, who is built like, a linebacker, I mean, gets up out of his seat and attacks Riley Jackson. And I was like, Joe, control your kid. And it was the funniest thing ever. And I would love I would love for Riley Jackson to see Harley now, because no joke, Harley is taller than me. I'm trying to put some comparison to him, but he's probably same height as Riley Jackson, but he's built like, an Airwolf. He's just a big kid who's going to be 6'8", I feel, and just be a giant, But yeah, it would definitely be fun to see him, toe to toe with Riley. And then now that Riley's bald and Harley has this, Clay Matthews hair, would just be a phenomenal picture.
So I was so excited when we got Riley. We got him to come back for one of our comeback shows there, and the new version of Riley walked in, and I was a little caught off guard. But I'm telling you right now, he's cockier than ever, and he's still just as talented, and that's why I say Riley Jackson is the best heel in the business.
Yeah. And one thing that I remember is, like, I went to that Showtime show, and then the next day we were driving. Well, I was driving back up to Superior to pick up my friends, and we were headed to Fortune Bania up there for Heavy on Wrestling.
Sure.
And I saw him standing there. He was working Bruce Pritchard's table, and I walk up to him. I'm about to get my picture taken with Bruce, and I was like, "Hey, man, you think it's really funny to rip up kids' signs?" And he did not know what to do. He was confused as hell. I'm dead selling it. And Bruce Pritchard even went, like, trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm just kidding with you. I just want to thank you for making that special for my nephew." He's like, "Yeah, man, no problem," because I'm a bigger guy, but, like, I ain't no Chuck Liddell, but, like, I just had to, get all serious with him. And
the Riley that you don't see in the ring is actually a super genuine dude.
Yeah.
One of the coolest, most humble dudes that you'll talk to. So, I will tell you that one of the cockiest, biggest, just jerks ever in the ring. But when you catch him out of the ring and you actually get to have a conversation with him, one of the coolest dudes you'll ever talk to.
Definitely segue back to Sierra. Man, I would not want to cross that persona in the street.
Nope.
But when she's at her merch table, just a complete peach. Like.
So. We were fortunate enough to get to have a DPW championship match at Showtime, and her and Skits put on again on the YouTube channel. If anybody wants to go check that out for Showtime, incredible match. But getting to see Sierra and Skits, pre-bell, pre-crowd, just in the ring. Sierra is so giving for what she is as far as a star right now. she probably doesn't have to be as giving as she is, because I do think that Sierra is destined for some really great things coming up here. But super genuine, super genuine. Same with Joey. Joey's the same way.
Yeah, Joey likes to play it
so-
up at the table, and I just play along. Like
Yep.
I always call him my best friend, and he gets super annoyed with me. So
I used to always wonder, some of these wrestlers that I would see on TV, and I'd always wonder, I wonder what they're like, not in the ring. And now that I'm seeing some of these men and women that I actually get to see in the ring before I was able to do some behind the scenes with Showtime, it's kind of given me hope that even though I hated them when they were in the ring, it gives me hope that they were actually just really cool people.
Yep.
And they're just you and me basically outside of the ring. And I think a lot of people need to realize that, you hate them in the ring or you love them in the ring, they're equally as approachable outside of the ring. So reach out. Some of these wrestlers really enjoy hearing if you really enjoyed, whether you hated them or didn't hate them. They want to know that they did their job, and they want to know that they entertained you. So don't be afraid to go out and thank these guys and girls for putting on a show for you. That goes a lot further than buying their merch in all reality.
Definitely. And always remember to be respectful, because you never know what you're going to get. And if you respect them, they're going to respect you. So.
I think I just listened to your Otis story on that podcast, and I was like, I got embarrassed for you.
It's not my proudest moment. I mean, I was polite, but I just didn't. I didn't read the room. So, and normally I'm not like that, but I just figured, hey, I got this thing. How many times am I going to see him in town? But
it's not a big secret. We all know your love for Otis. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, it's not an obsession. It's just a collection. And with that being said, I think we should segue into this last part so we can get out of here and get you going. Is show me the collectibles. Got a collectible for us today?
I have one here, but just so I used to, as a kid, my brother and I, we had a lot of wrestling action figures. Some of them I wish we had now, because I actually think that I wouldn't need to work as hard as I do right now for an income.
With the way they're selling, yep.
But and this one actually has a lot more meaning to me now, just because of who I got it from. My oldest son went down to Tennessee and was at a flea market, and came across a table for somebody selling some wrestling merchandise. And he brought it back and he gave it to me as a gift. And it is this bad boy. This is my Ric Flair Funko Pop, autographed by Nate himself. So this takes a pretty good front and center of my little Funko Pop collection. So not just because it's Nate, but it's also my oldest son gave this one to me. So
nice.
That is the collectible. Yep. Yes, sir.
That is definitely worth showing off.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but I mean, I have upstairs. I got, we have Otis, big Alexa Bliss guy. So we have Alexa Bliss's Funko Pop. I got a Jeff Hardy action figure on the wall. We got an obviously Undertaker. My gal, she is that was her guy. So Undertaker has.
Well, if you ever want to get her a gift of the Undertaker, I can hook you up with Superior Creations beautiful tumblers. By the way,
I may message you after that.
Perfect.
So
let me know. I'll hook you up there. So
yeah, I mean, I have countless T-shirts. That's one thing. I've actually made sure that when you go to wrestling shows, grab a wrestling T-shirt from anybody. Yep. I mean, they're so easy to just keep. My stepdaughter here, she's a Kyle Pro fiend. Just addicted to Kyle Pro. So we have some Kyle Pro framed T-shirts in our house. We just wrestling's kind of taken over our house here a little bit. I have a couple signs. The one that you can see here, Cal Creed. I got a Dad Bod God sign here. Fan sign that we made. So. Nothing really takes the place of my my boy autograph there. So
yeah, that's definitely something legit. So, well, Jarrett, I do appreciate your time on here. I don't want to keep us running too long. It's been great. I hope to catch up with you again. We'll have to get you on here again. Maybe after the wedding and stuff. Everybody seems to be getting married around here. Maybe I don't know why. To get her
I
take
don't
on
know why we're
wrestling.
getting married. Yeah, I don't know why we're getting married in July. It's only going to be 9,000 degrees outside. So,
You got the DJ thing figured out. I'm happy for you there. I saw
oh,
that.
that was a catastrophe and a half. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I tell you a few
So,
weeks
yeah,
before
no,
you get married.
I would actually getting the missus on here to have a conversation. You know, I think that it's an interesting thing because I think that there's a lot of people that think that it's weird to be a female and to be a fan of wrestling and to actively talk about it. But I tell you what, she is quite a fangirl of some wrestling right now. So
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of what I want to get into. I say it every episode. I want to keep branching out, build my network. Obviously, you and I have history from school days,
sure.
sports days, and stuff. So that was pretty easy here. But I feel like we've kind of reconnected now with wrestling. Constantly sending you stuff. You know, if you need something from a show, I got you. We'll figure out the trade ski later. You know.
Oh yeah, no, yep. You and I are going to have some serious conversations because I've been given the green light to start scouting a little bit of potential talent to fill out some of the full-time rosters. So you and I are going to have some serious conversations here coming up.
Don't want to take away from the inning because Amy always yells at me because when I say goodbye, it takes me 20 minutes. But, you know, one thing is, you know, stand out, get something fresh, you know, because I've said it on numerous podcasts, you know, right now there's so many promotions with so many of the same people, you know, and I'm sure you'll find someone. The gentleman you mentioned earlier who was working with Dante, I don't want to mispronounce his name or say his name wrong.
Ying Mua?
Thank you. I was like trying to describe him without being politically correct and inappropriate.
Nope.
I have seen him a couple times,
and yes,
yeah, he definitely has.
Ying Mua is really impressive.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
We have some big plans for Ying. Just stay tuned to Showtime here. So
that'll definitely set you apart from everywhere else because I haven't seen him too much elsewhere. So. But again, yeah, we'll definitely
he's catching some traction over there in MAW. He's, you know, so hopefully we can keep our hands on Ying because I think Ying's another one. I'm telling you, this Midwest wrestling scene, man, these guys and gals are going places. So, you know, if you're a fan of pro wrestling in the Midwest and you see a show, go check them out because I'm telling you, man, I watched Airwolf and I watched Angel wrestle in Lake Hallie, Wisconsin, and now those two are wrestling on AEW on national TV, and it's incredible. So if you want to see,
Gore's been there.
Yep. You want to see Tomorrow's Stars? Start watching them in this Upper Midwest because this Upper Midwest wrestling scene is hot.
Definitely. And again, we'll get you on again with your missus, get you on with your brother, get you on solo again. We can keep plugging Showtime. I'm all about networking. You know, eventually, you know, come November, things will settle down for me, and I hope to start setting up some vendor tables. So I can continue to push my product as well. So, but
I would be remiss. Yep. Anybody who watches this, if you see that shiny shirted, fake tanned Rad Lightning anywhere around town, make sure you let him know how god awful he looks. Because
dude, I love that
Rad Lightning is terrible, man. Just terrible. And his new manager,
that whole show we were there. So
his new manager, Bobby Storm, terrible, just terrible.
Alrighty. Well, anything else you'd like to plug before we get you going here? I know you plug Showtime there. We can find them on Facebook, correct? And YouTube?
Facebook, and then their YouTube, Showtime Pro Wrestling. Good times.
You'll have to send me the link for that, and I'll subscribe as well. And then I will put that in the notes when we put the YouTube up.
Nothing to plug, Cal. Just appreciate the time. Appreciate having me on. It's been nice to chit chat about some pro wrestling with you here. So
awesome. All right, Jarrett, I appreciate you. We're going to get you kicked out of here, and thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle there, my friend.
Have a good night. My man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a good night. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in to Friends of the Squared Circle. I know we're still figuring things out here, bumps in the road, glitches, lights, you name it. But we're having fun. We're talking pro wrestling. Again, I do have some merch coming that'll just be available. Not like exclusive, but if you want something, hit me up, comment, as well as make sure you're checking out Superior Creations for their beautiful tumblers, as well as Darren Corbin. Give him a like and follow on all his social medias. Check out that artisan tattoo out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And again, the boys at 13 Cards, subject to change. They are great. I love those guys, Leroy, Zach, and Jesse. And as always, thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle, and Crander Q out.